You are smarter than you ever know. If you
Amen.
even if you can't read, even if you can't do math, even if you struggle in school, even if you stutter, even if you have a speech problem, you are so much smarter than you will ever know. And the moment that you realize that you are smart, the world will change.
Welcome back to Me and Poverty, a podcast about breaking barriers, building bridges, and changing lives, one story at a time. Today's guest is somebody from my hometown in eastern Kentucky. Very proud to have gotten to know him over the last few months. He's doing some great work. He wears a lot of different hats. During the day, he's a guidance counselor, and at night, he's busy making people laugh, inspiring people with his stories. You could say he's overall just instilling joy in a ton of different people. He also had a stint with football that I'm pretty sure he's going to talk about today. Without further ado, welcome to the show, my friend Joey Stepp.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor, and I'm excited to be here.
Joey, it's so great to have you, and I appreciate the work you've been doing. I follow you on all your social media, and it's really cool to see. As I'm coming out of a high school, I'll see you going into one sometimes, so it's pretty sweet, pretty sweet. What would you say, Joey, is your relationship with poverty? After all, that is the name of this podcast, right? Me and Poverty. So what would you say is your relationship with poverty?
It's crazy that just that question makes me emotional. It's one of the things that I fear the most. I work really hard to provide a life for me and my kids to where we don't need and we don't want things. And I don't know that I have a healthy relationship with poverty because I'm so scared to go, whether it's to go back. I know that I experienced as a kid, and of course, to me, poverty is not just about money. It's about opportunity. It's about resources. It's about all these different things. And there was a time in my life where my mom and dad divorced me, and my dad lived in a camper. And that definitely was a moment of poverty. There's a time in my own divorce where at the end of every month after paying my bills, I was negative $600 in my bank account. And again, had multiple jobs. It was still negative $600. But it truly is one of the things that I fear the most. The stress that comes with it, the anger that comes with it, and working as a school counselor, I see people struggle with it every day. And it is truly a fear of mine.
I can heavily relate to that. And I'll look at my wife oftentimes and we'll be in discussion, or maybe I have an off month, or even when I did sales and stuff. But no matter what, I'm never going back. Like, it haunts me. And I will never go back. So I can relate to you.
On the mental health side of it, as a man, like a lot of us men take the provider role, and of course the world's changed a little bit, but ever since I left high school, I've been the breadwinner. I got married. My now ex-wife was a stay-at-home mom. I divorced. I still pay child support and alimony. Even having the kids 50% of the time, like it is 100% on me. I provide 100% of everything that my kids do, maybe 95% of the percent of what my kids do. And the mental health side of being afraid to go back to poverty and struggling, and then of course feeling like you never do enough. It is truly one of the most challenging juggling acts in the history of mankind.
That is a very fair statement. And it's often internalized, and especially like you said, us as men. And I do quite a few mentoring programs now in schools, and I look at these guys and you just know they're just holding it all in, right? And you and I understand the ramifications of that. I appreciate you bringing that perspective to poverty today, and I think a lot of our guys that watch this, they'll appreciate that. So you went from being from our hometown in eastern Kentucky, where a lot would say there's probably not a lot of opportunities, to being a walk-on at Marshall University, got a full scholarship,
Yes, sir.
and look at you now. What kept you pushing through even though you faced a lot of obstacles?
One of my favorite. I spoke to Johnson Central's high school football team this week, 2 days ago maybe. And one of my favorite things to say to kids of Eastern Kentucky, the benefit of being from Eastern Kentucky, we're all learn to be a little gritty. And you can go from Eastern Kentucky to anywhere in the world and make it, but you can't go from anywhere in the world and go to Eastern Kentucky and make it.
Yeah.
Like it's Eastern Kentucky, like where we grew up is a different part of the world and things are done different. But if one of the most powerful things that ever happened to me is I learned I was smart. And even as a kid who graduated high school struggling to read, I got to college, they told me I'd never graduate. Like, and jokingly, I say I was dumb enough not to believe anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I knew I wanted more, and I had this grit about me that I learned being a football player and being a wrestler, and I just wanted more. And the harder you work, the pieces fall together. I love my job as a school counselor. I love my job as a magician. With the two jobs, I make a really good income. I do really well. But I wish that I'd have went into a field now that I'm old enough to realize that I truly could have did anything that I wanted to do, but I didn't know how. And maybe that's another thing to touch on poverty. Like when we grew up, everyone said, "Well, you can be anything you want to be." No, you can't. I couldn't be a lawyer. I didn't know any lawyer.
Yeah.
Kids today, even the poorest kids in our county, got Google, and they can go on Google and learn. You can learn how to become a
YouTube.
doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can YouTube how to be a doctor. But it was just that uncanny ability to never say never. And I had a goal and I had a dream and I had a father that supported me in the fact that he never questioned my vision. He kind of forced me to go to Marshall and chase my Division I dream. And once I got there, it was hard, and I could call and talk to him, and he never made an excuse. Never, like it was almost like not that there was ever an option to quit. I didn't know quitting was an option. And I was a walk on for 3 semesters, got a scholarship, ended up being captain of the team, started a bunch of games, and the most beautiful thing that has happened is I now have a second year college student at Marshall, and when people hear her last name, they associate it with me. And when I tell you that's the most powerful thing, it's the
It's
most powerful thing.
legacy, man.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And again, to be little old me from Martin County, to having a daughter who's attending a college with people from all over the world, and she enjoys hearing about her dad. I wanted to go out of state. Part of the emotion is I pushed her to go out of state, go to the beach, go somewhere, be a college kid somewhere else. You can always come home. And she said, "Dad, I really enjoy the whole Marshall family stuff that we have going on."
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of her. Like she's going to school for free because of her brain and because of her, such a good student. And here her daddy beat himself up to go to school for free. But just so proud of her, and just proud to be a part of the Marshall community. It's a big part of my life, just a really big part of my life.
I can hear how proud you are, and a couple of things come to mind for me. So I look at, when I'm speaking, oftentimes I'll bring my boy with me, and he's 4 years old. And I look at him and I'll look at the crowd, and I'll look at him and I'll look at the crowd. Sometimes he'll fall out of his chair or something goofy, how a 4-year-old can be, but I'm not going to miss an opportunity to be the dad I never had.
I want to say this. If I'm struggling with my daughter who's mentally struggling, we can get mental health. We can go to a counselor. We can do all these things that poverty in Eastern Kentucky didn't allow our parents to have.
That's right.
There was no resources. You couldn't compare how you parented versus how someone else parented. They really didn't have people to talk to. As a school counselor, I say this: we have a parenting problem in America. We have parents that don't do enough, and we have parents that do too much. I'm probably on the spectrum of I do too much for my kids because I want to do more for them than my parents were able to do for me. And I don't know that I don't know that my kids are benefiting from that overall, but I know that I will always be there for them, and I will always hug them, and I will always tell them I love them, and I'm always a phone call away.
I look at him and I will open up a lot of my talks that I was the same age as him when my parents walked away. Mm-hmm. And I get a point at him because I'm present.
That's
right?
strong.
Golly, man, I get emotional just thinking about it. It's really cool for me. You're talking about how your girl's kind of following in your footsteps and, of course, doing better than you did, just like hopefully my son will. It's cool that he's in the gym with me. He's in, doing all the things. So anyway, somewhere in the middle of football, training, hard work, grit. By the way, I tell all of my students there's a level of resilience that gets built in us being from Martin County. So 100%. The grit thing. I hope you're enjoying this episode of Me and Poverty. I just wanted to take a quick second and tell you about our Season 2 sponsor, Appalachia Reach Out, or ARO for short. Founded in 1972, ARO is a ministry in Eastern Kentucky devoting their time and effort to being Christ's love in action. Based in Martin County, but also serving Perry County, Kentucky, and Scioto County, Ohio, ARO supports families by meeting basic needs through their food pantry, their thrift store, while also partnering in addiction recovery, education, and community development through their work and witness teams. Fun fact, we've even had Appalachia Reach Out's Executive Director, Dwayne Mills, on this podcast before. So please go check out that episode last season. I'm going to have a link to ARO's website in the description of this video. Guys, I'm sure they would love your support, whether that be financially or volunteering your time. With that being said, let's get back into the episode. Somewhere in the middle of all that, you discovered magic. Tell our audience more about that, man. Help me make sense of it. What drew you into it?
So the way that I got into magic, I come to Marshall after fall camp. I'm walking down 4th Avenue. The door guy at a bar was the assistant wrestling coach at Huntington High, which is where I practiced. And my senior year, fourth block, me and Josh Stepp would drive to Huntington High School, and we would practice with Huntington High School because they had better wrestlers to practice with. And Coach John Dempsey says, "Hey, Stepp, would you like a job?" What would I be doing? "I need a bouncer to watch the back door. You'll make $70 a night. I need you to work 7 nights a week." Well, 7 times 7 is 49. It's $490 a week. Yeah, I could use $490 a week. So I started bouncing for it. This is part of maybe one of my red flags is I become obsessive. Recently I've lost 160 pounds in a year because I decided that it's time to make a change, and I got really fat. And truly having the grit from being back home, I can do anything I need. Anything. I can do anything.
That's right.
I saw a magician in Columbus doing a magic show outside of Easton Shopping Mall. I walked up to him and said, "Hey, man, you think I could do card tricks?" He's like, "People do it all over the world." "Well, I've never seen a magic trick before you. I want to do this." So then I became obsessed with that. We had talked about this earlier about all the speaking engagements and stuff that I do. I got super lucky in that I'm old enough to remember before Facebook. I'm 44, so I grew up before the internet and now after the internet. And when Facebook came out, there was only 6 or 7 schools that were allowed to be on it. And you had to have a .edu email address, and Marshall was one of those schools. Okay, it was truly for college students. And I would walk around campus doing card tricks, adding people on Facebook that I didn't know. Well, that snowballed into advertising for myself when I started doing the show.
Yep.
And now at 44, just today I booked 2 shows this morning from people that knew me in college. "Hey, man, are you still doing magic?" "Yeah, check out my website, joeystepp.com." And they come back like, "Oh, my gosh, it's grown out of control. I was hoping you could come and do a corporate show for my company." Would love to. So just super lucky. And then one trick turned into 2 tricks. And as you keep on this journey of speaking, and you've already learned it, one speaking engagement turns into 2.
Oh, yeah.
And I encourage you to protect yourself and protect your time, and don't get overwhelmed with doing all the speaking arrangements because you'll wear yourself out. But truly, it's hard to pass up any of them because any opportunity turns into multiple opportunities.
That's right.
And I took advantage of that. And I'll tell you this as a man of faith. I said this to the football team. I've got some health things going on. Not super scary, but I had a stroke a year ago, and on the 30th they have to go in and look at a place in my brain that's probably an aneurysm, which will be the second aneurysm they think that I've had.
Oh, wow.
And if I die tomorrow, I've lived a beautiful life. I've lived a beautiful life. I've done things that, and I mean this with the most, in the most humble way possible. But I've done a lot of things that people from back home don't get to do.
That's right.
I've seen things that people don't get to see, and I've experienced things that people don't get to see. And so if it ends tomorrow, it ends tomorrow. I'm not ready for it to end. That's why I've lost all this weight. I want to think that I'm not going to hit 60 is crazy, 16 years from 60. But if I don't. I'm worried for my kids, but my kids have lived a beautiful life. Sure. My mission's not complete, but my mission's been beautiful, and I'm super blessed to be able to say that.
I can relate heavily to that. Be honest, what did your teammates think about you breaking out card tricks in the locker room?
It was truly one of the most fun things in the world. And this is my magic career blew up like it truly blew up really fast. I started getting hired because being a football player, the doctors wanted to hire me, and people in the community started hiring me, trying to help me. Now, back then it was illegal for me to have a job, so I had to be careful with how public I was about it.
Sure.
But everybody loved it. The craziest thing, Joseph, and talking about adversity and overcoming things. So before I got my scholarship, I was literally and my dad didn't make enough money. No one sent me money. If I wanted money to go out to eat on, I had to make it. My dad helped when he could. My dad made payments to the school when he could. But of course, like any parent, he was struggling, and he was recovering from a divorce. And I don't know that my mom was really helping him as much as she should have. And she had a pretty good job, but she wasn't helping me either. My 24-hour days, let's say my day started at 5:30 in the morning, woke up, went to workouts. I would work out from 6:30 to 7:30. I'd go to team meetings. I'd go to class all day. And college kids knew that I always slept 3 hours at night. I would nap all day. And literally, I'd be asleep in a hallway outside of a class, and someone would kick me to wake me up to go into class. And
Wow.
and like thinking about that now, I'm like, God, I would never allow my daughter. My daughter would never live that kind of life. But I go to class, and after class, we'd have practice. We'd have practice at like 6 o'clock. Go home, try to get my homework done, and then do it all over. I get off work at 4 a.m., go to sleep, wake up at 6 a.m., go to practice, and it was just this constant cycle of being exhausted. And I wonder if that's why I've got like I had a stroke, and I've always had memory loss, and of course I had concussions. Back when
Sure.
I played, concussions were like concussions were real. Like when you had a concussion, you were hurt, but you still played through it, and it became worse. Now they're protected a little bit more, but
Sure.
like the lack of sleep, and I was the strongest guy on the team. I was putting myself through all this crap, like not crap, but I was putting myself through all these things to be stronger and be faster, but I never gave my body the rest that it needed,
Right.
and it was truly chaos. I lived in chaos from the time that I stepped foot on at Marshall's campus to the time I left. But once I got my scholarship, everyone's like, "Oh, it was great, and you probably rode off into sunset." No, the scholarship paid for school, so I didn't have to pay for school. I still owed them like $4,000 from when I was a walk on. I paid it off, but I still needed money to go to the movies. I still needed money
Oh
to
yeah.
eat. I still needed
Oh
money,
yeah.
I still needed money just to hang out. So I continued to work. Now I worked more than I should have because I was greedy. Because
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
where I'm from don't make $2,000 to $3,000
That's
cash a
right.
week, So I wish that my dad would have grabbed me and be like, son, like work 2 days a week instead of 6 days a week, or But I made it, and I'm grateful. I question a lot of my story, like like I feel like I was kind of brainwashed that I was a football player. I was only a football player,
Mm.
and I say that when I talk to kids. My favorite thing to tell athletes, because that's I have a huge passion to build a career where I speak to athletes and share my story in
Sure.
my magic show. And in a room with high school athletes, everybody's dreaming about the NFL. Well, you should be dreaming about your 30s and 40s, because more of you are going to make it to 30 and 40 than you're going to make it to the NFL. And what's your
Yeah.
life going to look at 40 years old? Because as it gets here fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got a son that, how old is he? 3, you said?
He's 4. Yeah.
Or you got a 4-year old son. In 10 years, you're going to call me back and be like, man, this last 10 years went by so fast.
Oh yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it's gonna be, man, he's in college, man. Yeah, it goes by fast.
I'm hopeful that we give them moments that kind of imprint on their brain, you know.
Absolutely.
And when a certain thing happens, they kind of go back to it, right? That's a
Yes.
kind of part of my goal.
That's all
So
we can do.
you've been a counselor 15 years?
15 years.
Yep. So, two-part question. What are some of the biggest changes you've seen in youth over the years, 15 years? And then for people small town like ours, what advice would you give them to help them believe in themselves more?
Okay. Um, 15 years of being a counselor, goes back to along the lines of, as parents, we're trying too hard and doing too much for kids. Now I'm at the middle school level, so I work with kids who are right at 11 years old that are at 15 years old. And at 11 to 15 years old, you can be like they can turn in their homework on their own. They can turn in absentee slips on their own. Like we have parents, like, you don't even have to come sign your kid in. Just drop them off the front, let them walk in, and they sign themselves in. And I'll tell you, this is kind of off the topic. I've got my own theory on what's wrong with the youth in today's world, and I believe this wholeheartedly. When I was a kid, TV rotted my brain. Everyone said you're watching too much TV, you're rotting your brain. What they didn't realize, every sitcom we watched taught us a lesson. If
Hmm.
you think about it, every 30-minute sitcom, they had to have some type of lesson
Oh,
in it
sure.
in order to have a storyline. Saved
Yep.
by the Bell. You watch people your age having breakups. You watch people your age going prom. You watch people your age fight an addiction with caffeine when Jesse said there wasn't enough time. Leave It to Beaver, Andy Griffith. We all, without knowing, were taught lessons in being entertained. Now kids scroll, and there's no lessons being taught. And now in today's world, because of today's economy and the fear of living in poverty, mom and dad are both working. So mom and dad barely get time to sit down and eat dinner with them, if they even eat dinner with them. And mom and dad are both working, and mom and dad are both doing things, and everyone's too busy to teach these life lessons. And again, I love working in the school system. I say some things sometimes that get me in trouble, but the school system's so scared about cell phones that we should be teaching kids how to properly use cell phones. You know, instead of scrolling, look up on YouTube with something to really learn about. Follow people on TikTok to feed you with positivity instead of negativity. But we're so afraid of ChatGPT and everything. It's just like cell phones are bad. We're going to outlaw them. Well, guess what, guys? When the kids leave school, they pick up their cell phone and look at it all day. and we're not teaching them to look at positive things. Then tell me again the second part. The second,
Students actually from small towns like ours, what do you wish they believed about themselves?
that you are smarter than you ever know. If you
Amen.
even if you can't read, even if you can't do math, even if you struggle in school, even if you stutter, even if you have a speech problem, you are so much smarter than you will ever know. And the moment that you realize that you are smart, the world will change. The harder you work, the pieces fall together. I don't know why I get blessed so much, but I just know that I wake up every day and try to make people smile and try to make people feel seen. One thing that I love to do is like, and I don't talk to all of them like I want to, because sometimes like even me being a huge guy, which of course I can't fight anymore, I'm weak. But like I love speaking to homeless people because I want them to feel seen, because we're all humans and we're all fighting and we're all like, and the truth is we're all one bad choice away from being homeless.
That's right. That's
Like
right.
when I went through my divorce, I lived in a guy's pool house for 3 months, and then for 3 more months I jumped around on people's couches,
Oh, yeah.
and was I homeless? I didn't feel homeless because I had a place to stay, but I was home. By the
Yep.
definition, I was homeless.
Yep. Yep.
Even though I had a job and even though I had things like that, but I didn't have enough money to move into an apartment until my dad was able to help me and that kind of stuff. But like just work hard and be good to people and be good to yourself. Above everything else, I say this to my middle school kids all the time. I ask them, they'll come in the office and be like, "Hey, little Johnny, who do you talk to more than anybody?" "Oh, I talk to my dad." "No, that's the wrong answer." "Yeah, I talk to my dad more than anybody, Mr. Stepp." "No, that's the wrong answer." "My mom?" "No, that's the wrong answer. You talk to yourself." And we got like we all, even as adults, we got to be good to ourselves so we can go out and tackle this adversity that we're going through, and that we can get through the day. And we got to find the good and the bad. And I'm wanting to start this movement on having one good day at a time. We
Mm.
all get overwhelmed. Like we all want to build a beautiful life, but God, that's so overwhelming to think about. But if I build a beautiful day and I have more beautiful days than bad days, I'm winning.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I talk to kids about how like don't overcomplicate things. When my sixth graders, your goal is to get to the seventh grade. I don't care if you make straight D's. If you get to the seventh grade, high five, buddy, you made it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
my
I love
19
that.
year old struggling. My 19-year-old struggles with looking at she wants to go to PA school. "Dad, I got to have this many hours, baby. You're 19 and you're second year. Let's worry about getting through this semester."
Yep.
"Dad, why do I have to take all these electives that don't do anything for my career?" "Baby, nothing's going to do anything for your career till you get in it. Like you got to get a piece of paper so you can get hired."
Yeah.
Like she truly is overcomplicating things, but the world's complicated, but to be happy, you don't have to make it that complicated.
I think a lot of what you're saying, there's a lot of faith based undertone to it all. There's a
Hmm.
lot of scriptures that come to mind in what you're
Hmm.
saying, and but also, man, these kids got to realize they're just looking at an elephant, and they got to eat that sucker, right?
Yeah,
But they're trying to do it all. The
all at
classic
once.
phrase, they're trying to do it all at once,
Hmm.
right? And it's our goal, our responsibility to say, hey, let's do one bite at a time, you
I'll
know?
tell you, and this will be the last, and it's not really a negative thing, but it's about the school system. Today, there's this whole push to take college level classes your senior year of high school, and everybody
Yeah,
praises you. Like my daughter graduated high school with more credit hours in college than I had after my first year of college, because I was in
yeah,
097 math and 097 ELA, so they didn't count as credit hours.
yeah.
But what happens is she got to college and she has to learn how to be a first year student taking second year classes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's overwhelming. And we almost
Yeah.
set them up for failure because she's taking these super, like not super hard, but rigorous classes. And she's like, "Dad, this is," I'm like, "Baby, there's no learning curve for you to learn how to be a college kid,
Yeah.
because
You
they were
jumped all
easy and
that. Yeah.
jumped all of it." And is it good? Yeah, it was cheaper. It saved us money. But overall, like it's not. We're all running our own race. I am sprinting against myself, and if it takes me a little bit longer than the next person, so be it. I'm running my race.
Yeah.
And again, I think we truly overcomplicate things.
When you're talking about the movement that you've got going on and that you want to start, and I couldn't help but think about Ed Milet. He's got a book called "The Power of One More." So
Okay,
I
I'll have
think
to
you
check
would,
it out.
yeah. It's a good audio book. So while you're traveling, you can put that one on. If a teacher, youth worker, another counselor sees this, what advice would you give them to help connect with youth in today's world?
Grace and understanding. Every
Grace and
kid,
understanding.
every kid from every walk of life needs grace and understanding. I did a keynote speech at the West Virginia Department of Ed's SEL conference this year, and I shared a story that I was a school counselor at another school, And we had a little girl who lived in a house that was $1.2 million. If you looked it up on Zillow, it was $1.2 million. Mom and dad were both highly successful doctors. This little girl, and being from back home, housing projects is still a thing, right? Okay. So this little girl lived a similar life to the people living in the housing projects that that have no parents, even though
Sure.
she lived in a $1.2 million home. And what I mean by that is mom and dad were never home. There was
Yep.
never a meal made for her. She had to make her own breakfast. She had to make her own dinner. She ate school lunch because no one had time to go to the store and pack her lunch because everybody was so busy. But the teachers treated her like, well, I don't know why little Susie can't get her homework in. I don't know why she's this. She has the nicest clothes and she has the nicest bag and she has the nicest this. And then I start talking to her. Yeah, she's got the nicest everything because that's how mom and dad parent. But she doesn't have parents. Yeah, she lives in a huge home that as teachers and educators we're a little envious about the nice cars that they drive. But she doesn't have a family. Yeah, they're not divorced. Yeah, they're not on drugs, but she doesn't have a family. So she needed as much grace and understanding as anyone else. And I take that one step further. And this is so hard to say knowing that people will watch it. But as educators, we have to hold ourselves to a higher discipline and higher standards than we hold our kids. Little Susie comes in, forgets her homework, and then I want to crucify her and jump onto her like I've never forgot anything. And at the smaller level, you got elementary school kids that we will work with them every single day on how to add 2 plus 2 until they get it. We'll work with them 7 days in a row, Monday through Friday, then Monday and Tuesday on how to add 2 plus 2. But they get in trouble one time, we expect them to know the rule. And the second time, we throw them to the wolves. They all deserve grace and understanding because it is really hard being a kid. It's hard being a parent. It is hard being a parent, man, but it's really hard being a kid growing up in 2025 with everything going on.
For sure. You remind me of a time I was speaking at a teen leadership retreat, and they had asked me, they read my book, leadership did, and they said, Joe, we really want you to focus on the different types of poverty. And that really, that was really cool because not everybody in attendance came from financial poverty backgrounds, but some of them were still poor.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a couple of things. I couldn't help but visualize the pyramid of needs. And Sissy, Joe, whoever you mentioned, she had all the financial stuff, but she wasn't having that bottom, basic, concrete, foundational.
No love, no support.
Yeah, it wasn't being met.
No.
So she was poor.
Yeah. And living in crisis.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, you can have a kid. When I did my internship, I had a kid. It's not the saddest story, but it makes me emotional. I was just an intern trying to get my master's degree in school counseling and got myself in some trouble because I was a very poor student and living through chaos. But I had to drive 2 hours to work my internship. And I'm working at this place. It's in Oak Hill, West Virginia, similar to where we grew up. And the counselor's like, hey, Joey, every Christmas we give out jackets. We give out coats. But this boy, call him John, John's allowed to get 2 coats. Well, John was this real thin kid who always wore jeans and a white shirt. And I just started, since I've lost weight, like I usually wear a sports coat now because my dad didn't own a sports coat. Like my dad, I don't know that my dad's ever had a sports coat on. So like once I started seeing people wear sports coats, I'm like, man, jeans, a graphic tee and a sports coat, that looks really cool. And as a magician, that's how I want to dress. And then it got to where I wear a dress shirt and a sports coat. But he would look really good in a sports coat. So he came in to pick the jacket out. He picked out just a starter fluffy jacket. And there was a sports coat. I said, hey, man, like you ought to take the sports coat for your second jacket. He said, Mr. Stepp, I can't. It's not warm enough. Well, buddy, you got that jacket. He goes, yeah, but I need a thinner jacket that's warm because I sleep in my jackets. I said, what do you mean you sleep in your jackets? He said, well, my family spent all their money and bought a car wash, and the car wash isn't doing well. So we concreted up the entrance and put a door on the other side. It's got a garage door, but we sleep inside in the car wash. And when I tell you I cried for this kid in front of him, I cried for this kid.
Yeah.
But on top of that, he was one of the smartest kids in the school because we all need a distraction. Some of us as adults, alcohol is a distraction.
Some of those are healthier than others.
Yes. And then and he chose to put all of his focus. He thrived because it was a distraction. And of course, too, he was mature enough to know that I got to do something to get myself out of here. I got to do something to change my life and break this cycle because it is, and it's the saddest thing in the world to watch. It's just a cycle. I know people back home that are so smart and so skilled that won't go to work because they don't want to lose their government support.
Well, there's a benefits cliff there that they'll fall off the end of it if they do.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's hard to give that up. Yeah.
Yep. It's almost like we set them up for failure too, because like I knew a woman that knew, and she truly had another kid because she knew how much money she would get in SNAP
Oh.
and how much she had HUD, and
Hmm.
now she's a thriving professional. I don't want, she'll probably watch this, so I don't want to say who she is or what she does, but she's a huge fan of mine. She follows me with everything I do, but like I'm so proud of her because she finally made the decision to to break that cycle and stop being
Sure.
scared.
Your shows, correct me if I'm wrong, they usually combined magic, comedy with probably an underlying motivational tone, if I had to guess.
Absolutely.
How do you decide? How do you decide what message you give your audience?
So now I'm at a level where people will ask me, like a business will be like, hey, like we got a lot of people that just bicker about one another. Will you make it fun, but will you throw something in there about just staying in your lane and worry about your own grass? And then of course I'll do some research and come up with it. The gimmick that I have is I do a magic show that's entertaining. I do a comedy magic show that's entertaining. Well, I've developed this ability to be able to deliver a message. So I can go, I get hired to go into schools to talk about the importance of trying your best on a test that truly doesn't matter. And I've always kind of been this guy that like hovers along the line of I'm going to say stuff that like your teachers can't say. Like I probably shouldn't even
Yeah.
say it, but I think we have to be as real with these kids as ever because like with the internet, these kids can call us out for our BS all the time. Like they know better.
Yeah.
When we were kids and you couldn't Google stuff, like no one knew anything. You just listened. But part of the motivational stuff, Joe, is I I have to fight a dark cloud every day when I wake up, and in fighting that dark cloud and in fighting the negative thoughts and how I talk to myself and not giving into it, I became an overly positive person. And in becoming an overly positive person, I have just taken those things that I've learned in my own life and I'm able to regurgitate them in a show, and then you put in the skill of adding it with a magic trick. Perfect example is I do a joke with football teams like, hey, and it's these split cards that are 1 through 5, and there's prizes on all the back of these cards, and one of the prizes is I'm gonna give out $100 gas every month for this class year. So if you're a senior, the rest of your school year, I'm gonna send you $100 for gas, and they all get excited. They're like, "Oh, I need $100 gas! I need $100 gas!" And of course, they can't win it because the game's rigged. And then I'm like, you're lucky you didn't win it because if you drive a vehicle that takes 87 gas, you got to put diesel in it. And if you drive a diesel, you got to put 87 gas in it. So then all the kids kind of grumble. And someone always is like, why would it be that way? Because I'm teaching you that you got to pay attention to what you're putting in your body and in your mind.
Yeah. That's good.
We all want to be these star athletes and we all want to be successful, but we're scrolling through dumb videos. And then we get caught up in the drama and we hear that little Susie and so broke up and we get involved in it when we got too much stuff to worry about ourselves. So I've just found little unique ways and I don't know, like the craziest thing is like, and I'm not comparing myself to a preacher, but it's almost similar in the fact that like I don't have a plan sometimes when I go do my show. I get hired to make people laugh and then something happens and it triggers me and then it's the most beautiful motivational thing that these people have ever seen. I'm obsessed with time. As I said earlier, I do this whole thing about, we have 86,400 seconds in a day. We're all given the same seconds in a day, but what we forget is some of us obsess over being super successful and we got to use them all for success. Well, you better not forget to sleep, you better not forget to eat, and you better do something that you enjoy because you're going to get burnt out.
That's
you
right.
know so, and of course I know you walk all the time. Like I've learned for my own mental health I need to take a walk. If I like for my mental health I walk a mile, for my health I walk 3 miles, but if
There
I'm
you
having
go.
a bad mental health day I get up and just go for a walk and battle with my thoughts and clear my mind and then go back to my day. So got to take advantage of that time we're given each day because God, it goes by fast.
That's right. Being a dad, you kind of already touched on it a bit, but being a dad, a counselor, speaker, an entertainer, all those things. Like, what helps you besides walking? What really helps you stay grounded when you've got a lot of plates spinning? I get it, right? But for our audience, like, what keeps you grounded, man?
My desire for more. I want I doing the magic shows is the closest thing I've ever had to run. Like I really didn't enjoy playing football. Football was hard. Okay, like beating yourself up, like the
Sure,
brain issues I
sure.
deal with. But what I did enjoy, Joseph, is whenever we were in the tunnel and we were running out and the crowd's cheering. And we played against Virginia Tech, which is probably one of the most exciting stadium atmospheres I played in. Not the biggest. We played at Tennessee, which was the biggest. But I'm in the tunnel at Virginia Tech, and I'm crying so hard, just huge tears down my face. The athletic trainer came and checked on me. And
Mm.
it was my made it moment. I've worked my entire life. I've dreamed about playing Division I ball my entire life. And like, even though I've played other games, I've never played a situation like this. And I truly get that same sensation before I go on stage. Not all my shows.
Sure, sure.
Like this, like, and not to sound disrespectful, this evening I'm doing a discounted show for a assisted living place, and those are the hardest shows because my show's interactive. I can get there and they're all old and they don't want to have anything to do with me, and
Yeah,
I'm
bless
just
their
and
hearts.
I'm right, and I'm truly there for a little bit of a paycheck, but the
Yeah.
person wanted me there.
We got to do
They do,
those too.
yeah, you got to do them. And
Yeah.
but like the big conferences and stuff, like I'll pace, like they'll see me pacing behind the curtain, and like I'm pacing, I'm thinking, and then I'm just like giving grace to God, and like and I'm questioning everything. Like, how did I get here? Why am I here? I've been in ICU twice in the last 5 years. Why am I still alive? You know what I mean? Like those kind of things. And it's the most exciting thing that I've ever felt since. And maybe I'm not doing it for the wrong reasons, but maybe that is the wrong reason. But it's truly the most exciting thing that I've ever experienced. And then, of course, I've got two beautiful daughters that I want to provide for and I want to leave things to. And I want to teach them that no matter where you come from, what education, they know, my kids know I still struggle to read, and I'm not embarrassed about it now. And even with after my stroke, I share all the information because my oldest is really interested in like what the doctors are saying. And the last crazy thing that we heard was the part of the brain that was bleeding during my stroke, I shouldn't be able to talk. And the doctor thinks that because I'm ambidextrous, maybe my brain crosses over and I'm using the other part of my brain. And she literally is like, I don't have an answer. And
Wow.
then my reply was, I don't need an answer as long as I can keep going. So just blessed. I find so much joy. And then the negative side is if I'm busy, I'm not in my thoughts. And if I'm not in my thoughts, I don't fall into depression. And I'm someone who like I used to like I can get addicted to playing Xbox because I don't have to think. And I play this. I tell kids this. I play 2 games of Fortnite a day. I play in the morning and at night. And if I fall in and I die, and the game only lasts 5 minutes, I play for 5 minutes. But if I fall in and I win, I play for 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's something that I get joy out of it. And I practice my discipline of only playing 2 games. But it's truly the busier I am, the happier I am because I strive in being busy. And again, like I work at a middle school. We got last year we had grandparents buying kids vapes so they could bring them here and sell them for double. And again,
Yeah.
and like the answer is the grandparent probably needed the money and
Sure.
saw an opportunity, but the
Sure.
kids don't have anybody around them to be like, dude, this is not the way. And like we got kids that stay up all night playing Xbox and don't have adults in their life to be like, hey man, like you got to have a balance. No one teaches these kids balance.
I watched this video, or it might have been, I might have read it somewhere. I can't remember, but the author, whoever said it, said us as men, we're addicted to video games oftentimes because when we're in a video game and we win, we are someone, we are somebody. We that gap in our hearts and our lives gets filled, even if
Instant
just for a
gratification.
moment. Yeah. Which I talk about delayed gratification a lot in the book and all that. So
Think about this, Jeff.
exactly.
Think about this point, okay? And this is something else as a school counselor I really feel adamant about. So playing a game, of course, let's say playing football games. I played online Madden all the time, and you play with these young kids, and you talk to them on the headset, and I'd realize that they're young, like teenage kids.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I'd get up 14 points. Well, they'd quit the game and just start another game because no one likes to lose. And then you play in a Fortnite game where you're playing with a partner, but they leave the game because they didn't like where they dropped in. If your cell phone doesn't work, you restart your cell phone. If your computer doesn't work, you restart your computer. Maybe all this technology stuff is causing this because if you look it up, teen suicide's at an all-time high. It is truly a crisis. Like nobody, like there were some statements made by people in politics about what a crisis, something was a crisis about autistic children. The crisis is that we have teenagers taking their lives. And I'm worried that it's because they think that they can restart. Like there's no restarting life, so we just got to end it. I really think that there's a correlation between this technology push, and not just a push. I don't know that it's being pushed. It's just here, and it's not going anywhere.
For anyone that is listening, I want this channel to be a resource. And you've thrown some great stuff at us today. Let's say someone specifically wants to get into kind of what we do, motivational speaking wise. Maybe they want to be a magician. What advice would you have to that person, to that young person?
This is terrible.
Besides, don't do it.
No. Don't listen to your friends. Don't listen to the people close to you. Your biggest supporters will be strangers.
That's right.
And if you want to be a motivational speaker, like, speak positivity in everybody that you can, and don't worry about what they say. You know, you can only imagine what people thought when I told them I was going to start doing magic tricks. My best friend, we're not best friends anymore. We don't even talk. But I told him we're roommates. Like, let's learn this together. He's like, man, there's no money in that. And I started learning, and, like, jokingly speaking, became the city king of the city because I was someone who could do magic tricks. And he
Yeah.
had the opportunity to learn with me, but he was my friend, and he had a negative mindset about it. And now he probably regrets it a little bit. Now, again, like, I don't know that his personality would have matched up with a career in it, but we would have had a lot of fun. But you can't listen, like, don't listen to haters. Have a vision and fill yourself with information of people that have done it. Follow people on TikTok, follow people on YouTube. Magic tricks, you can get on YouTube and learn free magic tricks all day, every day, and be entertaining. And of course, the more you do it, the better it gets. You'll like this too. So during my speeches, talking about how you get good at something, I'll call a kid out and be like, hey man, how old are you? I'm 17. Well, how old were you when you learned how to tie your shoes? I was 5. Okay, you've been tying your shoes for 12 years. You pretty good at it? Yeah, I'm good at it. Well, why are you good at it? Because you've been doing it for 12 years. No matter what you want to, like, if I want to become a doctor right now, if I do it for the next 25 years and study and just keep working, eventually it's going to happen. It only doesn't happen when I stop. I could fail out of med school, and then, of course, there's limitations and stuff. But the truth is, no matter how hard it is, if you, and of course, talking to the kids that we talk to, if you struggle to read, why are you not getting on YouTube typing in how to become a better reader? Why are you not on chatbot typing in teach me basic grammar? And that's no excuses. And now, again, teachers will be mad at you for saying get on chatbot and type in basic grammar. But we're talking about kids who don't have adults that know basic grammar in their house.
Or access to, yeah, that sums it up.
There's,
Access to
there's no,
resources. Yeah.
and I was in 7th grade, and a teacher explained to me that I misspelled my first name. I misspelled
Hmm.
Joseph in the 7th grade. I spelled it Joesph. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, did I learn it that way, or was it just the way that I learned? I don't know. I would say that it was just the way that it was because no one paid attention to what I was doing.
Joey,
We
get this. So my dad's name, I'm Joseph Brian Little.
Okay.
He's Joseph Keith Little.
Okay.
It took till the 3rd grade for me to know that my middle name was Brian and not Keith.
Not Keith. Yeah. Yep.
And that was for a couple of reasons. One, even though my dad wasn't present, I wanted to emulate him. I thought we
Yeah.
had the same
Mhm.
name. I was convinced we had the same name. And then obviously just ignorance, right?
One of the most disheartening things that was ever said to me, I was hired by Martin County Schools to speak to all the teachers.
Sure.
And I don't even remember the lady that did it, and I hope that she doesn't be upset that I'm sharing the story. But I'm telling my story about how I couldn't read and I struggled, and I was truly a bad kid. I was an angry kid. Like, I got in fights in middle school.
Oh,
People
yeah.
made fun of me. People made fun of me for living in a camper in middle school, so I got in fights, and I was just a butthead kid. And after we got done, people were coming up taking pictures, and she said, I hate that you talk so bad about yourself. You were a good kid. I said, okay, honey, I was a good kid, but I struggled. Good kids cannot
Yeah.
read. Good
Yeah.
kids cannot do math. Good kids can struggle. Like, even though I was respectful because I didn't know any better, like, I was never disrespectful to adults because maybe I was raised right or maybe I just knew better. But, like, I was a bad kid, But she was so disheartening. It was disheartening to her that I talked about not being able to read. But you was a good kid, and that's one thing that I struggled with too. I work in a middle school where I got kids who can't spell their name and I got kids who can't read, but yet we put them in art class and we put them in this class. Why are we not pulling them out and teaching them how to read 7 hours a day? Because
Yeah.
I promise you,
Pulling them out of the fire. Yeah.
I could spend 5 hours a day with a kid and teaching him how to read, and he'll be able to read at a decent level by the time he got through 6th grade. Now
Mhm.
maybe he's going to miss all the math skills. We'll work on that now that we can read. But
I'll send you another book that, buddy. I was never a reader until I started writing my own book. I was never a reader.
Yeah.
And but you'll love this other book. Talks about how basically mentor programs can be a ministry in helping overcome illiteracy. Dude,
Yeah.
like I did
That's huge.
not see that coming. So
I like that. Yeah.
send
Message those to me because I
will.
won't remember.
right, I'll send it to you. Something else you said that I teach and preach a lot to teens is your vision. Whatever that thing you dream about that you don't really tell everybody about, you might be a little ashamed of it. I don't know if you were a little ashamed or whatever, but it's cool that you get to the point you're definitely not, right? But at
Right,
first
yeah,
you're a
yeah.
little like hesitant.
Uh-huh.
So what I tell these students is your vision, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you friendships. It'll cost you relationships. But if they're not your cheerleader afterwards, that's okay.
Absolutely.
Maybe they weren't your real friend and all that. But anyway, your vision's going to cost you. And it should, I think, right? Because if you're the same person 10 years from now as you were,
Right.
it's a problem, you know?
That's Matthew McConaughey has a YouTube video about how he chases his hero, and his hero's himself
Yes.
in 10 years.
Yes. Dude,
Yeah.
I got so excited. Yes.
Yes,
I forgot
it's
about
huge.
that.
I watch it pretty often. And he says,
Yeah.
he goes,
I need that.
I'm never going to be me in 10 years, but it gives me something to chase. I think that's huge.
Yeah, that's great. All right, buddy, I've stolen enough of your time. I think I might have broken my mic. I got so excited there. We'll have to,
And I appreciate
do this
you.
again. Yeah,
I appreciate you. And once things slow down, I'll make a point to come home, and we'll go to dinner.
Yeah, well, buddy, I can always come to you too. Sounds great, buddy. Sounds great. Joey, thank you so much. Thank you for being here with us today, man, and sharing kind of your testimony, your history, and how you got to where you are today. There's plenty of people in small towns all across America that have kids just like me, just like you, that just need someone to believe in them. I think you summed it up great earlier. I even circled it over here. They all need grace and understanding. And I see that in you, man. I see it in everything that you post and the jobs that you do, and very appreciative of you, man. If you were encouraged by this, give the video a like, a comment, subscribe to the channel or Apple, Spotify, whatever you're listening on. And remember, keep sharing stories, and see you in the next episode.